Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. Most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination perspective of civil services will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 15th of November. The first important news that is India announces long-term strategy at COP-27, something very important for a country like India and even setting a right directions approach towards the multilateral forum. Second, number of Indian students in US on rise again. Third, India must invest 840 billion in urban infrastructure. This is what the World Bank has said in its detailed report. Fourth, center seeks time for SC in places of worship act cases. And the last is an editorial where no children is left behind. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting with the first news of the day, that is India announces long-term strategy at COP-27, something important for General Studies Paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. It is also important for General Studies Paper 3, where conservation of environmental pollutions and EI are concerned. So in a major proactive role towards the sustainable environment and basically sustainability for the entire globe, India recently released its long-term strategy for achieving the net zero emissions by 2070. And at the ongoing COP27, which is held in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh. So this is the venue, name and place become very important, specifically for the prelims and many other government examination. Now, it comes after the Prime Minister of India has announced India's net zero target emissions as a part of ambitious Panchamrit pledge at COP27. We'll see the entire discussion on the Panchamrit on the later part of the video. मैं आपको एक बातें बताऊंगा पंचामृत में क्या क्या. There are 5 targets that the government of India, specifically the Prime Minister, has set. Now, there's a long-term low emissions development strategy that has come up. So if you talk about the long-term low emissions development strategy, or it is known as LT leads, 121 पेज डॉक्यूमेंट रिलीज की है जो कि फोकस करती है स्ट्रैटेजिक ट्रांजिशंस पे ऑन सेवरल हाई एमिशन सेक्टर दैट इंक्लूड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एंड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, अर्बनाइजेशंस, carbon dioxide removal from the industries, forest, finance, and investment. So make sure you know all this, at least the key points that is relevant for the prelims examination as well. Now the plan will also focuses on improving the research, innovations, climate adaptations, and resilience in the sector. Now with the release of the long-term emissions development strategy, India joins the select list of fewer than 60 parties that have submitted their long-term strategy to UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. और थीम की अगर बात करें, 2 थीम है यहाँ पे. The first important theme is climate justice and other is sustainable lifestyle that are emphasized for our strategy along the UNFC principle, that is equitable in nature and common but differentiated responsibility. If you can connect this with India's intended national determined contribution, which I have discussed categorically in the yesterday's session, you can check it out. Now, what are India's net zero target emissions? So in the latest World Energy Report, the International Energy Agency has said that India's ambitions to achieve the net zero target by 2070 had played a significant role in limiting the global heating. So this is what the analysis report that is released by the इंटरनेशनल एनर्जी एजेंसी, जो कि अपने वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक आउटलुक रिपोर्ट के थ्रू उन्होंने रिलीज किए. दीज आर द सम ऑफ द फैक्ट्स दैट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द रिपोर्ट. डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया हैव डिमांडेड that the rich countries or the counterpart reaching the net zero emissions before 2050 to give 1.5 degrees Celsius goal for the fight for the survival of the environment and even calling for the sustainability of the environment. The world is projected to cross 2.3 degrees Celsius warmest if the drastic changes isn't controlled immediately. So, in part of India's effort, India has categorically noted that by 2070, India will be achieving the net zero emissions. Now, five pledges that Prime Minister has categorically met, basically has pledged as a Panchamrit initiative. So these are the five pledges that Prime Minister has made. The first is that India will increase its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030. The second pledge that India will meet 50% of energy requirement from the renewable energy by 2030. Third, that it will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion ton from now to 2030. ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट टारगेट्स हैं जो आपको पता होने चाहिए. इफ यू राइटिंग इन मेंस यू कैन राइट ऑल द फाइव प्लेजेस. The fourth pledge that India will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by 45% from the previous target of 35%. And by 2070, India will achieve the net zero emissions. So, what is net zero? How does it be calculated? What is the definition of net zero? Net zero refers to a balance where emissions of greenhouse gases are offset by the absorption of equivalent amount from the atmosphere. तो जो मिसबैलेंस है, जो मिसमैच है, उसको बराबर की जाती है. एंड एक्सपर्ट्स सी द नेट जीरो टारगेट एज अ क्रिटिकल मेजर फॉर सक्सेसफुली टैकलिंग द क्लाइमेट चेंज इन devastating consequences. Now, countries that have made the pledge, so three important countries, that is the emitters. The first is China. They have announced the new pledges and it says that it will reach the net zero emissions by 2060. United States ने 2050 की बात की है and India for 2070. Now, if we talk about energy transitions, among the other strategy that was there by the government of India, the strategy plan for energy transition, expanding and stabilizing the renewable energy grid, phase down, increasing the adaptations of electric vehicles and reaching out development into the carbon removal and capture technology as well as restorations for the conservation of the forest. Now, by 2032, India will also scale up its nuclear capacity by threefold, expand the productions of manufacturing power for the green hydrogen and green hydrogen mission. So, जो green hydrogen की बात करी, green power की बात की, that is a part of GHM, that is green hydrogen mission. The majority of Indian electricity generation is coal dependent. Almost 50 to 55% of India's requirement of energy is being done from the coal, and we are hugely dependent on coal. This is the repercussion that is also impacting our environment, right? So, with around 20% will be coming from the renewable resources, and India pledges to increase its installed renewable energy capacity to 50% with its national determined contribution for a long-term climate goal. India is specifically working in this direction and we can expect a huge progress in this regard. लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट की एक इनिशिएटिव है जो कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने लॉन्च की थी ड्यूरिंग द COP-26 मीटिंग दैट took place, right? So recently the Prime Minister launched the Mission Life, that is Lifestyle for the Environment, a global movement towards mindful consumption. The lifestyle environment or life is among India's newly updated NDC, and life inspire each individual to contribute their bit as per their capacity. Significantly, Mission Life appears in the draft negotiation text on mitigating work, item for discussion proposals by the developed countries to scale up reductions of emissions across the nations. Now, what all was there in the meeting? To sum up India's road to net zero emissions, what are the targets that India advocated for? First, the National Hydrogen Mission, which was launched in 2021, aims to make India the green hydrogen hub. At least three-fold increase in the nuclear power capacity by 2032, achieving an ethanol blend targets by 2025. These are the targets set. Maximizing the use of electric vehicle, increasing the public transport, increase in climate finance to be provided. Long-term strategy aims to for the global temperature. So these are some of the targets like below 2 degree and 1.5 degrees Celsius by the century. So these are some of the targets that were set during this meeting. Moving to the other news, that is the number of Indian students in US on rise again, something important for general studies paper 2. that is effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest and India's diaspora. So, according to the annual Open Door latest report on international student exchange for the academic year 2021 and 22, almost 2 lakh Indian students chose for the United States as their destination for higher education. Still, US is among the priority for all the students who are looking forward for abroad education, and this increase is almost 19% over the previous year. So this is an important fact that you can take a note of for the prelims and mains examination. At present, there are 9,14,095 international students studying in the United States, right? तो ये numbers हैं जो कि वहाँ पे अभी तक notice की गई. The Institute of International Education published the Open Door report, very important for prelims examination and for many other government examination. Which organization? Which basically institution? That is the Institute of International Education. Now, about the Open Doors, Open Door is a comprehensive information resource on international student and scholars studying or teaching in the higher educational institution in the United States and the US students studying for academic credit for home college or universities. The Department of State sponsors this university for international exchange activity in the United States. Now, Indian students की बात करें जो यूएस में हैं. In the recent year, India has recorded the highest number of growth in the students studying in the US. Currently, India is the second to China in terms of student population in the US state. अगर इंडिया के बात करें, after India, China is the only country that has maximum number of students, right? In United States. Last year, 1,67,582 students of Indian origin went to United States to pursue their higher education, out of which majority opted for science and technology, engineering and mathematics. So these are the fields that are appreciated even being opted by the Indian origin student. However, the other field of the study such as business and management, social sciences, education were also among the popular international students. Now, place of origin of international students की अगर बात करें, as I have told you in percentage wise, 19% increase were seen from Indian origin, right? After which 3% from Korea, Spain 41%, Bangladesh 23%, Pakistan 17% and China minus 9%. Share of countries with overall numbers, if you see, India account for 21%, China 31%, South Korea 4% and other countries include 44%. And India must invest 840 billion in urban infrastructure, something important for General Studies Paper 3, under the subtopic Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So according to the new World Bank report, India will need to invest $840 billion for the next 15 years on an average of $55 billion per annum to boost infrastructure, that is the urban infrastructure, and it is also efficiently to meet the need of growing urban infrastructure. Even the need of urban population is calling for the development of urban infrastructure. तो जब अर्बन पॉपुलेशन बढ़ेगी उसके लिए उस अर्बन ग्रोथ को कैटर करने के लिए एक अर्बन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की डेवलपमेंट काफ़ी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. दिस इज व्हाट द एक्चुअल वर्ल्ड बैंक रिपोर्ट हैज़ कम अप विद. The report titled Financing India's Infrastructure Need, Constraints to Commercial Financing and Prospects of Policy Actions has underlined the urgent need to leverage more private commercial investment to meet the emerging financial gaps. Now, इस रिपोर्ट के बारे में कुछ और डिटेल समझें. By 2036, they have categorically noted that 600 million people will be living in the urban cities in India. Mostly, you see, migration is taking place from the rural cities to urban places in basically search of their livelihood and jobs. So representing 40% of the total population of the world, this is likely to put an additional pressures on already stretched urban populations for the severe Indian city. This will be something 40% of the total population of India, not the world. India की जो 40% of population है वो कहीं ना कहीं urban representation में जाती है. Now this will also call for the demand of clean water, reliable power supply, efficient road एंड ट्रांसपोर्ट अमॉन्ग्स्ट द अदर। तो ये ज़रूरतें जो हैं अर्बनाइजेशंस में, जिस तरह से लोगों की मूवमेंट हो रही है फ्रॉम द रूरल एरिया टू अर्बन एरिया, दिस विल कॉल एंड डिमांड फॉर मोर इम्यूनिटीज एंड फैसिलिटीज। फाइनेंस ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स की बात करें अगर इंडिया में, करेंटली द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट फाइनेंस ओवर 75% ऑफ सिटी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, while urban local bodies finance 15% of their own revenues. 5% of the infrastructure need of Indian cities are currently being financed through the private sources. Cities in India need the large amount of finances to promote green, smart, inclusive, sustainable urbanizations. Creating a conducive environment for urban local bodies, especially in the large and credit worthy, is one. Private sources will henceforth be critical to ensure that the cities are able to improve the living standard and growing populations in a sustainable manner. The World Report recommends expanding the capabilities of the cities to deliver the infrastructure project to the larger scale. Now, recommendations जो World Bank ने इंडिया के context में दी हैं, they've said that the government of India can play a very important role in removing the market frictions that cities face addressing the private finance. So private finance is definitely a big issue, and this finance will definitely augment the overall infrastructure development in our country. अगर private investment बढ़ती है ट्रिपल पी मॉडल पे या फिर प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट हो, तो कहीं ना कहीं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा हो सकती है। वर्ल्ड बैंक रिपोर्ट प्रपोजेज अ रेंज ऑफ मेजर्स that can be taken by the city, state, and federal agencies to blend towards the future, which the private companies or commercial finance can be there. Now, among its suggestions, the World Bank report recommended making the transfer of fund to cities formula based on unconditional increase and mandate the cities agencies gradually. Now, infrastructure upgrade की अगर बात करें, although World Bank has categorically noted the value of $840 billion for the next 50 years and 60 million people live in the urban cities by 2036. Improve revenue की बात की गई है, which is there from the urban local bodies as well, enable commercial borrowing revenues from the local bodies, and increase involvement of private sector through public-private partnership. Now, Center seeks time from the Supreme Court in place of Versive Act cases, something important for General Studies Paper 2, that is structure, organization, and function of executive and judiciary. Now, recently the Supreme Court has granted more time to central government to respond to the batch of petitions that challenges the provisions of Place of Worship Special Provision Act of 1991. The act prohibits filing of a lawsuit to reclaim the place of worship or seeking a change in the character from what prevailed on August 15, 1947. तो क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट प्लीज में एप्लीकेशंस लगाई गई है, किस किस बात की कंटेंशंस है, विल सी दैट. So what is there in the plea? So the plea challenged the Place of Worship Act, saying that the act take away the right of Hindu, Jain, Buddhism and Sikhs to restore their place of worship and pilgrimages destroyed by the invaders. तो ये prohibitions हैं, which is something not under the spirit and right that is provided under Indian constitutions, right? Now, 1991 provision of an act to prohibit conversion of any places worship provide for the maintenance of rigorous character of worship, and it existed August 15, 1947 for the matter connected henceforth with the accident. Now, violations of freedom of religions की बात की गई है इस plea के through. The plea filed in the Supreme Court has further stated that the act blatantly offends the right of Hindus, Jain, Buddhism and Sikhs to restore, manage and administrate their work of worship, which is guaranteed under the Indian Constitution of Article 26. तो Article 26 अगर आप डिटेल में रीड करें, वहाँ पे बात की गई है प्रोटेक्शंस को लेकर के विद द रिलीजियस मैटर, राइट? पिलग्रिमेजेस और सी सारी चीज़ें जो प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप है. The petitions has challenged the constitutional validity of sections 2, 3, 4 of the place of worship, and even it challenged that Article 14, 15, 21, 25, 26 and 29 are being violated as a principle of secularism, and even which is an integral part of the prelim and the basic structure of Indian constitution. तो बहुत सारी लीगल डिबेट भी है. इवन द फंडामेंटल राइट इज इन क्वेश्चन. देयर आर मेनी अदर राइट व्हिच इज इन क्वेश्चन. The Supreme Court has to decide that how things will function, and they've given time for the central government to respond, and they have wanted an immediate response. Violation of principle of secularism की बात की गई इस plea में. The plea said that the act violates the principle of secularism. Section 234 of the act has taken into the way right to approach the court, just right to judicial remedy has been closed. Section 3 की अगर बात करें, it called for acts that barred the conversions of place of worship, and Article 4 bar filing of any lawsuit on initiating any other legal proceeding for the conversion of any religious character from a place worship existing 15 अगस्त 1947. तो ये सारी जो सेक्शंस हैं इनको चैलेंज की गई है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में वाया एक्ट प्ली. Now moving to the editorial of the day, where no children is left behind, something important for general studies paper 2, that is issues related to development and management of education and human resources. So what I'm going to discuss under this editorial, first talking about the theme of this article. This is education policies and roadmap, and we'll be looking into the efforts over the year, efforts by the state government giving communities power, efforts by the NGO and the civil society, and the way forward. Now, बात करें national education policy की, which has categorically stated that a national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy should be set up as a priority for attending the universal foundation of literacy. So, universal foundation of literacy in itself is a very important topic for mains examination. Even if UPSC does not ask question in the national education policy, तो universal foundation of literacy पे question पूछी जा सकती है. So this is something the priority, and even identifying the state-wise target should be the goal that has to be achieved by 2025 that the government of India has envisioned for. Now it is alarming that India's rank 132 out of 191 countries in the Human Development Index as well, which measures the national health, income, and even the education system. Efforts over the year जो कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने की है, since 1990 the World Declaration on Education for All at the Jomtien Conference has converted, and it has called for efforts that have made for the children to education. इंडिया में आर्टिकल इंसर्ट की 21 है जहाँ पे राइट ऑफ एजुकेशन को प्रमोट किया गया, कहा गया. Now before the conference in 1987, there's a project called Shiksha Karmi project that started to tackle the teacher abstentions from the remote village in Rajasthan. तो कुछ states government ने भी intervene किया. We'll see how the state government has actually come up with the projects. Active involvement of the local communities is very crucial part of this project. Now, by supporting and training of the local person, the project succeeded in creating teachers. Premise was to focus the basic teaching through the practice. Unfortunately, this lesson is to give up when we work on the regular teachers, right? So, regularity of teachers and student is very important. कुछ efforts जो कि state government ने ली हैं, talking about Bihar, the Bihar educational projects was introduced in 1990 to fill up the universalizations of primary educations. It has developed 10-day residential in-service training for the teachers called Ujjwala mode, right? And it proved to be challenging. The communities viewed unstaffed and dilapidated schools only as an elections booth. तो अब कोशिश ये की है गवर्नमेंट ने कि हर एक स्कूल को वहाँ पे सुधार किया जाए. बेसिक एम्यूनिटीज शुड बी देयर एंड द क्वालिटी टीचिंग शुड बी प्रोवाइडेड. Now, Rajasthan की बात करें, लोक जुम्बिश is a people movement for education that was launched for all in 1992 by providing thrust to innovation, emphasizing civil society, and the program demonstrated success, especially in tribal district. However, the inertias of mainstream continue to reign supreme. Now, Andhra Pradesh की अगर बात करें, 1993 the Supreme Court has ruled Unni Krishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh that the 8 right of educations challenges up to 14 is a central and fundamental right as per the Indian Constitution. Now, the district primary education program that was started in 1994 universalized and transformed the quality in primary education in our country. This too remained a project as a directorate did not own initially fully. Now, if you look into the proportions of female literacy, if you talk about the country-wise, you can see Sri Lanka has this number, Africa, China, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and Pakistan. So this is 61 for the data which is there and 81 for me. So this is on the lower side. Even you can pause this video or take a screenshot for better understanding. Some of the highest gender gap is seen in the country like Mali, Guinea, Benin, and Liberia. Now, equality for the state, which is both where both sexes, male and female, are given equal educations that include United Kingdom, United States, France, Italy, Germany, Japan, and Russia. So these countries that promote literacy for both sexes, male as well as for female. Now, given community power, this is something very important. If you want to have a holistic development, you need to give power to the communities at the lower level. So, this is a hierarchy that has to work in a bottom up approach, right? So, with the efforts to indeed be made, there is still need to work on the community connection and prenatal environment. तो पंचायत और कम्युनिटी कलेक्टिव एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो कि इसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा हेल्प कर सकती हैं. वुमेन सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप, another local household can help. Panchayat can leverage the resources, community can both enable the discipline of the teachers, fund, functionary, and their responsibility. The Panchayat Raj Ministry can also work with the community connections to make learning process more responsible for the local government, and it will also call for a higher enrollment rate, which is known as HER. Providing decentralized functions to school and community overseas, such as fund for the best starting point towards achieving the NEP objective, that is New Education Policy 2020 की जो objectives हैं वो fulfill की जा सके. Now, efforts that was made by the NGO and civil society, Ajim Prem Foundations, they have worked commendably well, and they have improved the government school by providing district and block level support to the school. Teachers were also suffering due to poor governance in school and teachers. Then there are other innovation like Gyan Sila Saksham, Central Square Foundations that has built reading room and other amenities to the student for mass education, and Sampark Foundation provide answers to the foundation for the challenges which is there, and a foundation use of technology for the teachers development. So some NGOs are working on overall development, some are specifically working on skill development student and skill development of teacher as well. Now, way ahead की अगर बात करें, there's an urgent need to work on the foundational literacy. This is evident from the fact with the National Education Policy 2022, which categorically call for foundational learning and numeracy. There is a difference between the preschool and class 3 that can be transformation for an individual. Foundational literacy or numeracy की अगर बात करें, this is essential to prepare the generation of learner who will secure the high rates of economic progress and human well-being. The recruitment of teachers, educator, and administration has become priority, and even the central and state local government need to transform governance to ensure that everyone delivers their best. Now, moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct option is B. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. आपको बताना है, making peace with nature report has been recently published by United Nations Environment Program, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Food and Agriculture Organization, World Wildlife Fund for Nature. Do check it out for the correct option. Second question, that is vertical launch short range surface to air missile. It is ingeniously developed and designed by DRDO. It is capable of neutralizing aerial threats at close, including the sea skimming target. So do check it out for the correct option. This type of questions might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.